on the basis of statements made by him, his constituents, or outside the plenary. While it is true that we agree that Yekeh Honorable Kolubah should be accountable for a free speech, it would be unfortunate for the legislature flow to be used against any member of the legislature to punish him or her for utterances outside of the legislature with serious procedures and constitutional breach. In support of this constitution, the Supreme Court opinion on Asa Yanamud vs. Liberia Senate clearly articulated how short proceeding for temporary and permanent removal of a member should be done. And anything fall short of this is wrong. Therefore, we, the member of the CPP Caucus, with consent of the CPP executive and political leaders, call on the House of Representatives to rescind his decision to suspend Rep.Yekeh Kolubah. Failure to do so, it would be imperative to support Rep.Yekeh Kolubah in taking appropriate actions. That was the first statement we are on behalf of the CPP Legislative Caucus.
Recognized to ask
Wisdom Garden banana effect. Actions. What kind of actions are you looking for?
Well, actions by politicians or by legislators are political, but it can also be legal. So, given that we have three branches of government, all of which activity need to be checkmated by the judiciary, the option to go to court is there. You already know that the Supreme Court has already issued an invitation for this for the plenary to appear along with Yekeh Kolubah in a conference with respect to the same issue. So if you go beyond that conference, the caucus and the executive committee of CPP are going to stand by him to ensure that he is treated fairly. So that's what we call action, political and legal.
All right, so my name is Prince Mwawa, and I report for Prime FM. My question is, you described the action of your colleagues here as illegal. So I'd like to know, what is illegal about the proceeding? Which specific rules or specific portion of the Constitution that's been violated here that violates Honorable Kolubah's rights?
Yeah, when you talk about illegal, you talk about it, our rule says 2/3 of the House can either suspend or expel 8 members. If you look at the action we're taking that took place 2 weeks ago, I think we were like 27, we were 11 voted for and 7 voted against. So I mean, it couldn't meet the 2/3.
Moreover, our rule requires that to remove even. Let me put it this way. Moreover, it is not clearly written or stated in our rule of the Constitution that to tear off the entire membership. Our rule provides that if you have to, or we have to remove any member from a committee in the lower house, it should be based on to tear. So by extension, or by technical definition, the universal set, okay, provide room for the subset. So the subset is our committee, and the rule that apply to it. So because the committee is part of the whole, is part of the universal set, the rule also apply to the removal of any of our colleagues from plenary.
In addition to that, the issue of due process was not observed, which is very cardinal.
And also just to add on to my colleague as well, the issue of Article 40 of the Constitution was also breached. The fact that one house should not exist or should not be in session more than 5 days in collaboration with the House. Remember that the Speaker called for session on Tuesday. It was unexamined of that provision of the Constitution, Article 40, the Speaker had to quickly adjourn the House to get back to the Easter break on Thursday. So it means that all of the action that was taken on Tuesday should be nullified. So there are so many issues relating to this inappropriation or inappropriate way of suspending our colleagues.
Yeah, my name is.
Yeah, I'm Augustine Sai and I report for Chief Lieutenant. Honorable CPP lawmakers, would you mind being specific because you have been carried live on social media platforms and there are people who want to have easy access to your rules. You wouldn't mind being specific as it relates to which section or article of the rule that states about suspension and what sort of penalty can be given a colleague that will be formed in an hour subject.
Let me be very frank with you. Our reliance is our rule. We are not having a press conference to condemn the action on the basis of our intuition. So our reliance is our rule. If you want to go through the rule, go to the part that talks
For the
about suspension. Yes. So that is it. Let me be very frank with you. Another case in point is NDPL versus the Senate, where as a Unabo issue went to the Supreme Court. There is a clear opinion on that issue that it should be the entire membership of the chamber and 2/3 of that membership, not actually half or some of the members.
And we should also serve as a precedent quoted that suspension and expulsion. So we are only limited to expulsion, the precedent that decision by the Supreme Court talked about suspension as well.
And you also know that, like we said earlier, the honorable man was not given due process. He was told after the letter was read whether he had a statement to make, and he said he didn't have a statement to make. That does not mean he cannot be given due process. He needed to be written officially, invited by a committee to come there with or without his counsel. But just because he said he was not speaking in the plenary, you say you were expelling him with 17%, out of 25, 11 voted for, and the rest of that. So what are we talking about? There was no due process, and if we don't rescind our decision as we have written, and obviously the Supreme Court will speak to that.
We have a front page and then cable.
Yeah, my name is Gerald Koyen. I read for Front Page Africa newspaper. Most of you were in session that day when the decision was taken, and it is reported that some of you voted in favor of the decision, and you didn't file in for the motion for reconsideration. Why this time around you are coming up against the decision?
I did file in for motion of reconsideration. My hand was up, and the speaker denied me and recognized the citizenship of it. My hand was up, and that motion was tested on a legal day for my hearing as well. That's my issue because calling us back to section on Tuesday and acknowledging the fact that we shouldn't be seated at that time should nullify all of the activities that occurred that day. Because we were prepared to challenge the motion for reconsideration on that day. So most of them did not come to work because we knew that we were not supposed to be there at that time.
Yeah, so my name is Vanik Kamara and I write for the Liberian Network. I understand that Honorable Yekeh has already forwarded this matter to the Supreme Court. Why don't you wait for the court's hearing, which is scheduled for Thursday? My understanding is that you are supposed to be there. Why are you not waiting for that?
What we are doing is in line with what he's doing now. We are just expressing solidarity and telling the world that we're going to stand by our colleague. Whatever way possible. We can exert political pressure in this building in the same direction while he is pursuing the legal process.
More beside, it is a different branch of government. It doesn't mean when a case goes to the Supreme Court by any one of our members, it should actually stop our function.
Yes. One, I got two concerns, very short. One, you have less than 48 hours for the hearing. Due process is exactly what Honorable Kolubah has prayed the Supreme Court for, which of course has been granted. Thursday is the hearing. Don't you think we should relax and go and see what comes out of the hearing? That's one. Two, illegal, as you have claimed, the session that was held and led to the suspension of Honorable Yekeh Kolubah. But yet still some of the CPP lawmakers sat in that session and made decisions. What do you say about that?
Judge Nangwe is finding a clever way so that our colleague can send the suspension. arrange or the Assembly should put a stay order on the issue of suspension instead of calling for conference. But while the conference is ongoing, Yekeh will be serving the suspension. So we don't charge the judge's decision according for conference. We think that the judge shall place a stay order on this particular suspension before this time.
On TV. So true. And then the last question from.
So, few hours ago, there's a group that gathered here at the Capitol calling themselves some resident of district, team in support of transparency and accountability. According to them, they came to tell the speaker, thank you, the speaker and the members of the legislature, thank you for the suspension of Honorable Yekeh Kolubah. And they also said those of you who rejected the decision of the House of Representatives can also be compelled to the category for which Honorable Yekeh Kolubah was suspended. Do you accept that assertion?
Well, I can accept that.
As street talk.
As street talk.
There is a political
power so people get
you get people dance around.
10% or 15% only support of also staying in the paper. So we don't battle out to that kind of thing.
Moreover, says a kangaroo group. Same people campaign again. Yekeh Kolubah defeated them. So they look for this opportunity.
People will be disrupting Yekeh Kolubah program.
You know what all have been happening to Yekeh Kolubah. These are the same guys because they put in Heno A and they fear that the speaker who is their partisan will penalize Yekeh Kolubah. This is why they came to drums all around here in a dense form. I can tell you, we will stand by Yekeh Kolubah because the process was not fair and I don't think it meet the constitutional benchmark.
I'll take the last question.
Yeah, I'm Jonah from the Springer from Sky Airport. You have vast experience in government on the Yonko and several others seated before the guys here. You have vast experience in government in our country and outside. Do you think the action of Representative Kolubah, what sort of civility has it been showing to the outside world, being an experienced person in government, coming to the legislature, bringing insult? Your rule is again insults. It is repeatedly done by Representative Kolubah. Do you think they send out good picture of the Liberian legislature?
Two wrongs cannot make a right. And not because a man used invective should illegally get him out of job. That's the first thing. Secondly, that's his choice of war. I wouldn't use those words he uses. But it does not mean he cannot have his due process whenever you want to get at him. And so I think that's a short and wrong.
And globally, in support of what he's doing, but the procedures to get Yekeh Kolubah all about we're against, but not done the right way. Simple.
We a national conference on the issue of deliberating leaders. President Weah is not even a leader of this country. Okay, if you can take from our constitution, I think we are 125, including the judges at the Supreme Court. 105, they are being trusted with this country by the people. So citizen boys go on radio and cause us. You are here and you know their pronouncement on some of the critical national issues. They abuse anyone they feel like. So I think we should have a national dialogue on the issue of discipline from our young people and those that disagree with issues. Things should be, our argument should be issue-based, not to be insulted and being used effective. It is President Weah and his partisan feeling so terrible. But remember, Yekeh Kolubah is an honorable man, and he has been provoked so many times. What have been their stain on those issues? Most of all here, we are victims of their expressions. So let's have a national dialogue on the issue and be sincere, then we can get a resolution. That I can tell you. And to conclude on this issue, our press statement is not to support people denigrating leaders by using terrifying invectives. we are on the process of how the proceeding went to suspend Yekeh Kolubah. I must admit, none of us here, we use this kind of a word. Remember, people develop their own jargons and express themselves. So if Yekeh Kolubah expressing himself that way, you don't like it, you should condemn it. And if somebody feel hurt without freedom of speech, you should be accountable for it. Then that person pursue it through the legal means. Our flow cannot be used as a punishing ground to actually bring people outside of the legislature and in the legislature to punish them on the flow of the plenary.
And if anybody feels that that is against our rule, then let him use the law. Due process must be set, and that was not done. That's why we are saying that we stand by him on the due process.
Thank you so much.